welcome to Center Stage. I'm Angelina and this is Remi. And if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and do so now. And so Remi, what do you have for us today?
Well, my last visit was about the angry woman who killed her boyfriend with many stab wounds. So anger can go across a lot, but anyway, it's really about anger management and ways you can facilitate healing. 9 ways particularly.
Okay. Welcome back. So Remi, you were going to share with us about anger management and 9 ways of healing. So what does that entail?
Well, many things, too numerous to cover today, but the one that I was trained in to begin with is choice-based anger management.
Okay.
That is truly what it is. And in that philosophy and in that way of thinking, and I've seen people that can do it. No matter anything anybody says to them, it rolls right off of them. They don't even flinch. So, it is possible to do that. Now, there are some people, for instance, the young woman who stabbed her boyfriend 27 times.
Right.
Who probably,
I would say she was a little angry.
Yes, she was angry, and this probably doesn't apply to her. Okay, because she showed no remorse, meaning that she's suffering from psychopathology of some sort. So choice-based is what I was trained in, but in my own studies, people experience anger in different ways. Okay, some of us just shut down. Some of us become violent. Not as violent as the young woman, but violent. And then many people end up with the proverbial elephant in the living room because there's stuff going on, they're not showing their anger, they're not talking about it, not dealing with it. Repression is a dangerous thing when you're talking about anger. So choice-based is not about repression. It's about literally choosing to get upset or not. And in that framework, really what it is it's about you really are in control of your behavior. And that nobody else can take blame for that. So that's the good way to deal with that. And understand it. Bottling it up, elephant in the living room. But now remember, dangerousness is not without merit, right? We know that people who have a trigger, and a snap finger anger will often go off and become dangerous. So some of these things may not help that much. But the one thing that I was very happy to find, and I have a couple of wonderful websites that I enjoy reading, and I will give them to you to post there so people can go there.
Okay.
This is psychalive.org, and this is about what we need to do with clients who come in, patients who come in, and they're suffering from anger. They just can't get past it. Is it a mental illness? It is when it gets to a certain level and the response is violence, that 27 times stab. That is out of control. There's a mental illness problem there. So what I decided to do is look up, how do we get past this? If you're not one of those folks who can do the choice-based, or you think you can, it can't. Anybody can do that. It takes practice.
Right.
So anyway, I was looking it up, and one of the ways to get out from under your anger is forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
That is so simple and yet so difficult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, we all have been there,
Mm-hmm.
where we just can't get past being PO'd.
Uh-huh.
We are there, we feel we're stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I have come across something.
Very interesting.
It really is, because it's giving you options.
Mm-hmm.
And
that way you're still in control of your own emotions too,
right.
because you are choosing to forgive this person, and so you're still
That's right.
in complete control
That's
of
exactly
your own
right.
emotions, and
and many people,
you've made the choice. So
right.
so it's still choice.
It is. It
mm-hmm.
is. And many people don't understand that their response or jerk reaction to things is really about how they're seeing in perception.
Right.
So, if that is the case, then we need to go where their perception is.
Right.
And kind of help change that. If you learn, forgiveness, we all have been taught forgiveness and told that we must forgive. However, many adults, even though they were told all their lives, in their churches, by their parents, in the schools, not so much now, but they used to, say that forgiveness was the right thing to do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And ultimately it is. And what we come to is that it's the right thing to do for me. The other person, of course, it helps, but really, if you'll start looking at it in a sense that this is actually for me.
Yeah, because it's not something you're giving to someone else. You're giving it to yourself.
Absolutely. And that's why it will work, because you are in control. And if you're a control person and you start realizing that you have control over your anger instead of being angry, thinking that is control, scaring someone, frightening, that's not control. You're out of control. So we'll look at ways, of course, to get past that. Now, there are some things, knee-jerk reactions that we're going to have, but we can still learn. And the thing here is practice.
Right.
That is truly, really, the most important part. Is that in everyday life, we get angry.
Right.
And I mean, even if it's just driving in traffic, I mean, we get PO'd, and we need to see what that's about, because it's usually about us.
Yeah, and the more that we implement this strategy, the easier it will get over time. It will become like second nature. I am sure. It's not even something you have to stop and think about. I need to forgive this, or it just becomes part of your personality.
Right. And but that's just it. Things become second nature to us when we practice them. And that's what it takes. And that's for anything. I mean, really.
Right.
It's manners, learning the correct etiquette, learning, how to respond in a, let's say you're a public person and you are in front of the news cameras, learning how to not get angry, to deal with it. And when you are able to control your anger, I say control, that's not really what I mean. You don't even go there. In choice-based, you don't even go there. You just don't even let it get to you. And that, I have seen it done, and some of the healthiest people I've ever known are people who don't even need to forgive, because whatever you bring to them is really your problem.
Right.
Now, when you start family relationships, you need some guidance in that area by a professional. But you are still, working on understanding that it comes from you.
Right.
So, anyway, I found this interesting one. It's forgiveness. 9 steps to break free. Okay. And the first thing it's asking me to do, though, is think of someone in your life now who you are absolutely holding a grudge against. And it says, this is a person you are currently not able to forgive right now for their actions. Mm-hmm. Most of us can do that. Mm-hmm. Picture that person and hold on to that unwillingness to forgive. Get familiar with that, because you got to understand that's a feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have to recognize it. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because that's the only way you're going to know that you need help by doing that. Mm-hmm. Now it says, just observe what emotions are there. Anger, resentment, sadness. There we go back to our choice of words. Mm-hmm. Having words that we can choose from to describe how we feel. Mm-hmm. Anger is just one word to describe anger. Mm-hmm. It is just one word.
Right.
Anyways, it says, also note how you're holding your body right now. Is it tense always, or is it tense or feeling heavy? Then bring awareness to your thoughts. Are they hateful or spiteful? So once you get into this now, it's very complicated not to go any further. Mm-hmm. But you're starting to move into mindfulness there. Mm-hmm. In other words, again, you must know the here, the now, how you feel.
Right.
And absolutely, without that, you're just screwed.
Uh-huh.
For lack of a better term. So, may not get to them all, but that was just kind of a little quiz there as far as people can answer that, how they feel appropriate. But, it also reminds us that forgiving is not necessarily forgetting. Mm-hmm. We know this.
Right.
Or condoning your actions. And I think that's the real clincher. Mm-hmm. Because many of us will say, well, I haven't forgotten. I can't forget, but I forgive. Mm-hmm. But if I have a conversation with someone that is going that way, mm-hmm. it's really kind of in my role to be sure mm-hmm. that they've forgiven. Many of us say that, but we really haven't sat down mm-hmm. and gone through it. Mm-hmm. And that's about mindfulness. We can talk about that later. Anyway, like I said, some can be dangerous. We know that. That's not what we're really talking about here.
Right.
So anyway, there are 9 ways to overcome forgiveness, or to help you mm-hmm. overcome forgiveness. And I couldn't memorize all of them. But number 1, know exactly how you feel about what happened and be able to articulate it. What about the situation is not okay?
Mm-hmm. And sometimes that is a very difficult thing to do.
It is.
Because you kind of know how you feel, but you're not really sure why mm-hmm. you feel that way. And sometimes it is very difficult to put a name to the emotion or why,
It's so true. Mm-hmm. And I will recommend to the public, if you need words, because I find more and more my clients need words to describe how they feel, you can just go on the internet and just look up a list of feeling words, mm-hmm. and you will get all kinds of responses. Uh-huh. And print one out.
And I bet that would help. It will help narrow down, because you have these choices instead of trying to think what is the word that describes this feeling. When you see a listing,
right.
You can kind of check off, no, it's definitely not that. So, yes, exactly. That describes this feeling. That's what I'm experiencing.
Yes.
So,
yes, mm-hmm. that's exactly right. And I have found in my work that it helps a lot. Mm-hmm. Anyway, make a commitment to yourself to do what you have to do to feel better. Forgiveness is for you, not for anyone else. Mm-hmm. Now that may sound upside down.
Mm-hmm.
It helps the other person,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not for them.
Right.
So you can say, I'm in control.
Uh-huh.
So, people who have that mindset
Right.
can just say, well, it'll help him some way.
Uh-huh.
But it's really for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it does not necessarily mean reconciliation.
Mm-hmm.
That's where people get confused also.
Mm.
With the person.
Yeah, I could see that.
Oh, absolutely. People get stuck right there.
Because they feel like, well, if I forgive them, then I
They're
have
back
to
in my
carry
life.
on this
That's
relationship.
right.
And so that is a very good point to make, is that it doesn't automatic, that's not what it means,
Right.
just to reconcile. Yeah, I haven't thought about that.
No, no, it really is profound.
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds simple,
Uh-huh.
but it's very profound. And that doesn't mean, it doesn't mean reconciliation necessarily with the person that hurt you or condoning your actions. What you are after is to find peace.
Peace, yes, yes.
And forgiveness can be defined as the peace and understanding that come from blaming that which has hurt you less, taking the life experience less personally, and changing your grievance story. In other words, you know that it's about you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, really, I mean, a perfect example is I know it sounds silly, but an example of traffic.
Mm-hmm.
I start complaining at people who sit there at a green light
Mm-hmm.
because they're doing something, talking.
Right, they're preoccupied.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would be very hypocritical of me to
Right,
lay
because
on
we've
the
all
horn.
been there.
Right.
I mean, we've all
have done it.
been in that same
So
situation.
that's just a simple example.
Uh-huh.
It says get the right perspective on what's happening, because you don't necessarily know everything. When you're angry, you're upset,
Mm-hmm.
your feelings are hurt, or
Right.
you're humiliated, all those things can come into play.
Mm-hmm.
So it really
Sometimes
is...
you're not seeing the full picture.
That's
You're
right.
kind of
your
in a zone that is very,
It's where your perception is skewed.
Mm-hmm.
You have a skewed perception. And that's often, misunderstanding is often the whole problem, but yet somebody ends up getting shot.
Right.
But the facts weren't there. So it's just that.
Communication breakdown.
That's right. Exactly. At the moment you feel upset, practice a simple stress management technique to soothe your body's fight or flight response. And that response is something that we innately have. And when you talk about it even more in more detail, recognize, I'm on number 4, get the right perspective on what is happening. So step out of yourself and look at that. Now, I will tell you, empathy is a wonderful thing to have here. Because when you can step into someone else's shoes, you truly, forgiveness becomes much, much, much easier.
Right.
And I want to point this out because it really is truly, that is, I know this is about forgiveness. Empathy I bring up often because it is so important to our health. And as I've said, even as a child, I remember being empathic to painfully so. But, and we don't want you to be that. So anyway, but that is key, and I could do a whole thing on that. But let me rush through these really quickly, just to give you an idea of what we need to think about. At the moment you feel upset, practice the simple stress management technique to soothe that fight or flight response. Now, I always say count to 10. Because if there's a wonderful commercial that used to say, it was a public announcement.
Like announcement, yes.
Yes. PSA. When they show a woman who's frazzled, she's in the kitchen, she's got kids screaming, and the water's boiling over, and she reaches over to grab her kid, and it says, "Stop before you touch your child." That's that count to 10 thing. When you get that angry, count to 10.
Yes.
Because
and it works.
That's right.
That really does work.
It may have worked for the man that actually shot another person trying to get the toy for Christmas a couple of years ago at a Walmart or Kmart. Shot and killed someone over a toy. So he shouldn't have brought the gun, probably, because if you go to a crowd, that's not good. However, that would maybe have given him the chance to realize the wrongness of his upcoming action. So, we also give up expecting things from other people. That is a big one. Yes. This is key. This is about one of the most profound ways of living a life that is free of strife. Because, and it sounds negative, but it's not. If someone keeps disappointing you, lower your expectations. Our expectations are not their job to live up to.
Right.
See?
Right.
If you look at it that way, in an empathic way, well, that's not... I can put myself in their shoes. They don't have to live up to what I expect. So in anger management, if you can use that tool, that helps a lot.
And if you don't lower that, they'll never meet your expectations.
That's exactly right. So, also give up, expecting people. Put your energy into looking for another way to get your positive goals met than through the experience that has hurt you. We oftentimes play them over and over in our minds, and I know that I do. And it's something I'm trying to overcome. Also, remember that a life well lived is your best revenge.
Yes.
It is.
You want to get back at someone?
Absolutely.
Let them see you living well.
That's right. That is so true. Amend your grievance story to remind you of the heroic choice to forgive. And that is absolutely true.
Yes.
You're a hero if you can learn to forgive. You're a hero to yourself, to your children, to your family. You are a hero, and you are setting the best example that you can possibly do. So this is about anger management. This is one way. Forgiveness is one way. There's 9 parts of it. That's one way to do it.
Very good. I got a lot of valuable information out of that, Remi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you joining us today.
And we will put the website.
Yes, we'll include it in the description.
Absolutely. Yes. You can comment to me or whatever.
And but please like and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you next time.